Hey all, Mike Nelson here. Very quick note on the audio you are about to hear. I messed up big time. I recorded on the wrong microphone, so everything that I say was recorded on a inferior laptop microphone. I'm going to release the episode anyway because Conor's naturally on a good microphone, and I think there's a lot of good stuff. It's listenable. I apologize that I sound distant and hollow. That's my whole life, me, distant and hollow. That's what my wife calls me. Ha! I'm sorry, I'm trying to make jokes. But anyway, enjoy the episode, and I apologize. It's all my fault, all of it. Hey everyone, Michael J. Nelson here. This is 372 pages we'll never get back. I said my name, but I should probably say the name of the co-host, which is Conor Listoka. Conor is here. This is our podcast where we talk about bad books. Conor, say hello.
Hello, Mike. Thank you. This is the 25th book we've covered on here.
Yes, brand new book.
Maybe by book 50, I'll be able to spell Dalmatians correctly on the first try.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's as bad as Rhythm.
Gah, yep. McConaughey, also impossible.
I think the only way I can remember McConaughey is it's Mac-con-og-hay, right?
Well, that just makes it a lot easier, sure.
Yeah, Mac, like McDonald's, M-A-C.
Well, that's not how McDonald's is spelled.
Oh, it's not?
well, Old McDonald, maybe.
I guess that ruins that little... Well, like, why is it the Big Mac, then?
That's true. Some people say that. Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction asks him what kind of hamburger he's eating, and he affectedly pronounces it McDonald's.
I have my French podcast. One of them that I listen to talks about the difference between French McDonald's and American McDonald's, and it brings up that
bold new
scene,
territory.
And it just says that that's not available. It probably was in the 90s, something called the Royale with cheese, but it is no longer available. So don't go to France just looking for a Royale with cheese. They do not exist.
Bummer.
Sorry.
That ruined a lot of high school boys' trips, plans for their class trip to France. That's
exactly
my top priority. Well, the whole point is that I can't spell Dalmatians correctly because now we're reading the Starlight Barking, which is the unfilmed sequel to 101 Dalmatians.
Yes, there are sequels to 101 Dalmatians. They were not written by the author Dodie Smith.
There are sequel movies, you mean?
Yes, there are sequel movies, but she had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, she Gump and Code a whole quarter century before Gump and Code.
I realized while looking it up that she wrote I Capture the Castle. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not.
It is a big, a very, very popular and beloved British novel, which she did before she wrote The Dalmatians.
Yeah, this doesn't seem to have the same sort of bitterness and negativity, about the movie version that Gump and Co. did. She seemed to be a normal-ish person who was just sort of, probably having some fun with the money she got from the movie. Yeah,
this does, unlike Gump, does not seem like she's trying to burn the franchise to the ground, just like to the timbers.
Right. I mean, I think it could easily achieve that based on what we've covered here in these first 4 chapters, but it doesn't seem like she was necessarily trying to.
That wasn't the intent. No, yeah that is correct.
But yeah, it's I feel like it's a exciting book with what one listener wrote in to say it's not necessarily the writing that's bad, just some of the ideas in it are kind of weird, and some of them are bad.
This is one of the odder books we've ever read. I assume that like I said, I have not seen 101 Dalmatians, but pretty straightforward, right? It's just like told from the dog's perspective, kind of.
Sure, yeah. I'm thinking about rewatching it, but yeah, I think the dogs are the star. They're sort of observe the humans, and there's Cruella Deville, and I guess the thing I didn't know about it was that my mom she sang the Cruella Deville song surprisingly a lot, like growing up. Like that was sort of ingrained in my memory. Maybe she was threatening to send our dogs off to her when they misbehaved, but
it's a catchy song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it ends up, I guess, earning them a lot of money in the universe of the movie or book, so that's how they can afford to house these 101 dogs that they eventually end up adopting.
Oh, wait! In the movie, is Mr. Dearly? Is he a songwriter?
Yeah, I rewatched the one scene of him sort of coming up with a song on the spot. It's Cruella's entrance, and he's going up to his little attic retreat to bang out the tune for the first time.
Oh, okay. Because in this book, I believe he's a high-level financier, which we'll get to.
Came as a surprise, yes.
It's a little bit of a surprise. Okay,
so that could just be a Disney innovation just to get the song into, because they probably didn't have the song in the book. So yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah. So it's a shorter book, but the first 4 chapters covered about the same amount of text as a Artemis section, I think.
Yeah.
And it has some delightful illustrations as well, which
surprisingly, like Artemis, a lot of moon poon as well. So that's very strange in this book. No, there is none. Of course.
Hey, I mean, from what we gather, the dog star is going to play a role in this, so you never know. He could be wearing a smoking jacket and inviting people up to listen to his look at his etchings or something.
I have a quick story to tell you about Artemis.
Oh, please, of course. Anytime.
My friend, the one who was cornered by the cyclist.
Yeah. Who never identified themselves.
No, they never called in. He was on the same road. I was just with him. I don't think he's lying. He has no cause to. He was listening to our podcast again with the window rolled down, and a cyclist came and approached his car, so he sped off, so that he didn't have to deal with, hey, I've got a crazy theory about Artemis. Instead, he just left. I'm like, come on. That would have made the story so much better, as if he had a second wacky theory.
Yeah.
But the guy recognized our voices or something and approached him, and so he said, I left.
So in 3 weeks, the headline, man stabbed by crazy cyclist, had been encouraged by friend to let any random person approach him on the street with their crazy theories.
Hey, sorry about that, man. Sorry.
Yeah. You could understand, though, if it had gone differently, it would have been modestly interesting for a portion of our audience.
I mean, he didn't, it's a cyclist. How threatening can they be? Come on. Anyway, all right, so let's get into it.
I'm just looking at the illustrations here, where the sort of the front of the book, it looks like they have an eightfold drawing of an illustration attempting to capture some of the actions that happen in this book that are relatively, I feel like, harder to translate from words. And I'm just noticing in the top right corner of the first page, there appears to be a corgi swooshing. So that's
oh, yes, I see it. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. Yes, that's good.
Well, the first chapter is entitled The Mysterious Sleeping, and we'll, of course, get to that. But it starts off with a little bit of a recap of, I think, what happened in the first one. It says that not long ago there lived in Suffolk 101 Dalmatians whose adventures had once thrilled all the dogs of England. This was when a wicked woman, Cruella Deville, started a Dalmatian fur farm. She imprisoned 97 puppies in a lonely country house named Hell Hall and planned to have their skins turned into fur coats. So it just... kids' books just used to be so much cooler. Now we've just got Diaries of Wimpy Kids and Captain Underpants and garbage like that.
Anti-bullying tomes. Come on, people are going to cut dogs up and skin them.
Yes, in a place called a Hell Hall, which I don't know if that was in the Disney movie or not. But I mean, Disney used to do they'd have just parents getting shot in front of their kids in movies, so Hell Hall wouldn't be too much. But
I will point out, because I only noticed this now as we're rereading it, a wicked woman named Cruella Deville. Later we learn about Cruella, something that's shocking and seems at odds with this, but we'll get to that.
Yes. And then speaking of shocking, this is another thing that is focused on very early on and dropped into the book as if something we should just all be understanding. 15 of the puppies belong to Pongo and Mrs., a young married couple of Dalmatians. So they had a dog wedding, and it goes on to just talk about how, well, it says that the Dearleys, the owners, moved into Hell Hall, and they thought about changing its name to Heaven Hall, but the Dearleys thought it was just a bit too noisy for heaven.
They themselves wouldn't, say a swear like that, of course.
Right. But, I don't know. Give them a couple days of 101 dogs barking, and they're firing up the puppy skinning machines, perhaps.
Yes.
But then it says they did not remain 101 Dalmatians for long because many of the pups married early and had delightful families.
What is the dog age of consent? What is early?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm operating in dog years. That's what I do. My next dog wife ain't been born yet. I don't know. And who's performing them? Is a dog perform them? Or did Mr. Dearly get his online certification from, the Universal Church of Light or whatever?
Yeah. I had a college friend. Oh, gosh. He has such a good name, but I don't want to say his name. He's passed on. But he got that, and he was known as the Reverend.
Uh-huh.
And the Right Reverend. And he was in a punk band.
Nice.
And it was the worst band ever. And that was part of the appeal, is it made me laugh harder than ever when I saw the Reverend did his bass move where you spin the bass around your neck.
No.
And it, of course, came loose and hit someone in the face. Trying to recover from watching the Reverend try to recover from that was one of the greatest joys of my entire life.
It's like the guy who I saw open for the Arcade Fire who stood up on his amp. He was nobody. It was a very small show. Stood up on his amp. Ended up the amp tipped forward. He fell off it. Knocked the mic over. And ending the song, his final song in the set, and there was like the Mike Skronk in a movie. He just gets up and just says, "I'll pay for that." Set ends, and then the Arcade Fire, who will be playing Madison Square Garden in 2 years, is about to take the stage, ladies and gentlemen. This guy has just ended his career.
Wow, that's great.
So yeah, I don't know if that's a dog performing them, or if there's just sort of a mass wedding, like in a stadium, like the Sung Young Moon group doing. Who knows? Yeah,
it reminded me of who's the guy from Milton from Office Space. Uh-huh. Who says, I had a window before and I could watch the squirrels and they were married. So there's just you just get a sense that the dogs are married.
Yes, very married. And not limited to just dogs. But then it says that Mr. Dearly foresaw a time when they would belong to 1,001 Dalmatians and more. He just might not know that there are steps you can take to help control the pet population, as Bob Barker would say. I'm not sure if that comes up in here. And there's several other ownerships of dog ownership, aspects of dog ownership that I'm hopeful come up, like this one. It says that the dogs showed great affection for visiting tradesmen.
Yes. What?
Leg humping the UPS guy.
Those who are not tradesmen are kind of like, hello, what am I here? It's like, the costermonger, and the dog is like going to hump his leg. It's like, hey, he's not he's not in the union. Yeah.
Then the Fuller Brushman shows up and they go to town on his shoes. It's like, I don't even have to polish these things. They just, man.
Tradesmen. And so Mr. Dearly, because they realize they can't keep all the puppies because they're marrying so crazily.
And early.
Yes, early. Early and often they're marrying, and so there's a bunch of them. And so they farm out, they open a house, a home where the owners can stay while the dogs try out, or where the humans try out for the dogs, right?
Yeah, it's
opened a hostel in a nearby village where applicants could stay until they were fully trained.
Yeah,
and eventually chosen by a dog. What is going on there?
It's like the the Who Saved Who type of sticker people. Like, this is very early on, like they picked me type of dog ownership. I assume you have the same opinion of those type of stickers as I do.
Well, of course I do.
You're revolted by them.
I probably have more passion than you do.
You didn't get a when your son got a corgi. You didn't get a I heart my grand dog sticker.
Oh God! I mean, they are heckin' cute doggos, but
oh wow, God!
I said that in front of my other son, and I'm glad he didn't have a knife on him. He grabbed my collar, I think. So I'm just trying to think, like, if you're a tradesman, you're in, right?
Sure.
But do you have to stop your trade and go to the hostel in the nearby village?
Yeah, I mean, if you
like,
want
honey,
to adopt...
we're ruined, but I want a dog so bad, I'm going to stop working for a couple weeks.
Yeah, do the dogs, they say like, no, we showed you great affection, but that's just a taste. If you want to lock this down, yeah, you got to abandon things and stay in the hostel for a while. Or maybe the hostel just where the serious leg humping goes on. Who knows? That could be the dirty secret.
Yeah,
Magic Fingers bed, and
I'm headed over to the hostel for a little bit, honey. I know what you're up to. Oh, stop with that!
It's
stop.
Those dogs. It's I know. That's why you went back to trade school. You abandoned a career as a lawyer to.
Oh, yeah, that hostel's a strange place.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if we're going to really see too much of that, but it was a good detail. As is the fact that the family owns, they described them as liver-spotted Dalmatians.
Mm-hmm.
That's Prince and Perdita. So I don't know if those are older ones. Pongo is the top dog, and Mrs., but they also own 2 white Persian cats. One of these cats had rescued herself from Cruella, who rescued who, and since then been married. She and her husband frequently had charming kittens who all went to excellent homes. So the cat weddings, I don't know if that's a different ceremony, different traditions.
Do you have to get a different license for that? If you are, I don't know. Or is there a hierarchy where, like, if you're a dog priest or reverend, you can do it, but a cat couldn't do it to a dog, you know what I mean? Like,
true, yeah. Or you're not allowed inside the cat's temple or chapel or whatever.
Right. Yes. Yeah. They have to tear the carpet out if you come in there. Yeah. Which is true of pets. So.
And I just the whole time I'm just like, come on, have a cat married to a dog. See what kind of chaos that would throw into this world. But alas, I think they keep it pretty not interspecies.
Oh, and the cats, this is the other word. She and her husband, again, they were married, frequently had charming kittens.
Okay.
Who all went to excellent homes.
Frequently?
I think there's an undercurrent here with the constant marrying. 1001 Dalmatians frequently having kittens.
Right, yeah. Is the Dearleys coming through and doing like the school dance thing, like leave enough room here? Oh, you're married. Oh, then be my guest. Go at it.
Well, maybe that's the noise that they said made it, not quite so heavenly.
Wow.
Just constant.
Yes. Yeah, I think it must be. Yeah. The creaking. Oh, dog headboard shattering.
Oh, right.
So they throw in some stuff about the dog star, which I think is foreshadowing just having read the Amazon description.
Yes.
It's like a little hot or something. So it says, Mr. Dearly says, all I know is the ancient Romans believed the dog star Sirius, rising with the sun, adds to the sun's heat and makes the weather especially warm. Idiots.
Ancient Romans. Morons.
And then, but Pongo is suffering from a little bit of dog ennui. He says, surely he had everything he wanted. Why then was he sometimes a little bit discontented? And I was amused by this, and it won't make much sense to most of our listeners unless you go see Riff Tracks Live Rad on August 17th in theaters nationwide. He says there were seesaws. It's not as if life at Hell Hall was dull. The dogs had plenty of amusements. There were seesaws, swings, a charming little merry-go-round, a small water chute into the pond. So the dogs are going ass sliding. Like in
true.
Rad, the primary activity in the community that the kids live in Rad.
Oh, Rad. Yes, that's right. They do it early. They say there's like an opening, like montage scene. And then like, oh, I can't believe that happened, man. Hey, we're all going ass sliding.
You coming with us? They just introduce it early, and it is the thing. It's so good.
Multiple ass sliding scenes, and it's a water slide. It means you go down a water slide into a local river or something like that. So it's check it out. It's lots of fun.
But the wistfulness of Pongo here, it seems like he's protesting too much. Like, Pongo, you're clearly depressed. You've got to get some medication or something. He's like, and he keeps smiling. No, I've got it good. Why do I have this feeling like an emptiness inside? I don't know. Something's gnawing at me, but I'm fine. I know I'm good. Poor guy. I felt bad for him. Like, clearly there's a hole in your life, dude.
Right. And he probably, like one of his sons comes in and asks for like to borrow money or something. And he just envisions him as a little talking fur coat or something. It just has to like slap himself away from that vision. So I think that's tied into the weirdness that we get later. That's another, might rear its head later. I'm not sure.
Yes, but then the book begins in earnest.
Yeah, she does even do like anyway, I filled you in on all that. Let's get to the real story type of thing.
Yes, actually says that. Okay, here we go.
Essentially, the dogs have slept in, and then they're confused about like why it's so quiet when they wake up, and they go to see Mr. and Mrs. Dearly, and they're still asleep. It says, but they emphasize, and she repeatedly emphasizes this, they look particularly well, and they're breathing beautifully.
Yes.
So I think she, just to make sure that no one's really going to freak out at the insane things that happen here, she just repeatedly emphasizes that they are breathing, and they appear to be smiling. And it said, Mr. Dearly looks as if he might smile at any minute. Yes, he's smiling now. So they're having lovely dreams, and it's a shame to wake them.
It's a bit like a double elimination tournament, the amount of times she brings it up. Like, please remember, the Dearlys are not dead.
Yes, they're not turning blue. They're not like rigor mortising. They're very happy.
Yep. Which sort of, to me, was kind of like, well, let's just let things lie then.
Right.
Why even worry about it?
Sure.
They seem happy. Their hair will just gradually turn gray, their beards will grow, and then they'll die happy.
Yes.
Instead, it starts a story, unfortunately.
Yeah, oh well. Well, it goes on to just, they see the cats, the married cats, asleep in their basket, and at some point in time, their goal for how to wake things up is to bark really loud, and like sort of nudge them. And then it says, well, we'd better lick their faces, said Pongo. He knew that the Dearlys, much as they loved their dogs, were not fully appreciative of face licking. So we just get a scene of them licking these unconscious smiling people, which is the sort of thing that, like, if someone like walked in the door and saw it happening, they just do the slow back out of the scene.
We also get a little taste of Perdita's,
sure.
Prince and Perdita. We know that Mrs. is a mouse person. Perdita's a puppy washer.
Yes.
She'd always been a great puppy washer. Later she has a mania for washing puppies. Tell me more about this.
Yeah.
Why is that that's just glossed over?
Yeah. So Pongo is depressed, and she's got sort of an OCD puppy washing mania.
Yes.
I mean, these dogs, we can see if they've all, if the stock is all from Pongo and Mrs., we might have some inbreeding going on at some point in time. You're going to start to get those, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, well, when they said they were all marrying young, like, who?
I think so. I read a recap of, I think, the movie where it said that the Dearlys had like 15 dogs kidnapped from them, and then the rest of the 101 were already at Cruella's plant. So I guess there was, more bloodlines mixing into this family, actually. But
good. We get a lot about bloodlines and stuff coming up, so we'll get to that.
So they move on from licking to even biting their ears tenderly but quite noticeably. And I just had, I thought about one of those, crazy cat ladies that, ends up getting devoured by their cats when they pass away in their chair. Unfortunately, it does not go in that direction. They tried really hard. We sat on them and bounced.
Yes.
That's humping. That's the description of humping. All of you, all 101 of you, get up here and try. We're gonna have a bounce-a-thon.
Yeah, the biting their ears and stuff. It reminded me. Occasionally, you'll see those YouTube clips of people like putting food in their mouths so that their pets, whatever the hell they are, will eat out of their mouths. And they post it thinking it's charming. It's utterly revolting, obviously.
Yeah, because they're licking the people's ears and stuff and faces. We also know what they've been licking moments earlier, so it's
so don't give me any of that. A dog's mouth is cleaner than a human bullshit either. I don't want to hear that. I've seen what dogs do. I have had them.
At some point in time, a long time ago, me and my friends were running the News for Pets Twitter account, which the subject line was not just a pet-themed ripoff of The Onion, how dare you? And one of them just was, dog reads headline that dog's mouth is cleaner than humans, like laughs and goes back to licking anus for 5 consecutive minutes.
Yes.
How is that something we've all heard?
I don't know. I don't know where that came from. I suppose it's just so that owners would let, then it goes up to someone who's uncomfortable with dogs and the dog, 7-foot tongue comes out and swipes across their face. Don't worry about it. A dog's mouth is cleaner than a human's.
It's literally eating another dog's feces right now. Yeah, well, there's magic going on in there. Do you brush his teeth? Never.
I told you once, this will probably revolt many people. It was not fun for me either, but I will recount the story. My dog once approached me and set something down in front of me that I couldn't immediately identify, although it was moving. I'm like, what? My dog proudly giving me this prize. It was a small rabbit that he had chewed on so long that it had no fur left. It was a skinless rabbit that was still alive.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Thumper.
So how long had my dog had that thing in its mouth? Just kind of, I can't wait till Master shows up.
Yep.
He's going to love this.
I love you, Reich.
My mouth is clean. Sorry for that story.
We don't need to. Yeah, we don't. People can fill in the blanks about what you had to do to
yes,
end
exactly.
that story.
But I would say, in defense of telling that story, this is a book about dogs.
Yes, you're going to get a lot of dog stuff.
You're going to get some dog stories.
The point where I had to Google whether they were going to use the word bitch was when Mrs. said, "Oh yes," enthusiastically. I don't know why that popped into my head there, but unfortunately, it never came up because that would have been too hilarious.
No. So the people don't wake up, and then there's no noise. Right?
Yep. They sort of say, it's a little too quiet is the vibe that you get there.
Yes.
And at some point I was like, so this is sort of like the happening for dogs at some point in time. There's not even like the wind blowing.
And there's no birds?
There's no birds. And I think that the any indication of life is somewhat silent.
Yeah, 100% the happening. Or one of the many... I just saw a movie that was, I quite liked it, but it was another apocalypse movie.
Okay.
It's like, man, we're doubling down on the apocalypse. It's pretty much every other story, right? Somebody wakes up and it's like, oh no, everyone's dead. Now what? But this one was good. Anyway, that's what this is like.
Yeah. Ryrem Rudgent? I'll try to tamp
that's
that down.
That's how dogs talk.
Yes. Yeah, so I didn't know if these dogs were like talking like that to each other, but she was sort of just translating it on the fly like that. If it would sound like that if you heard them talking, because I think in the movie they all had British accents.
Yes, I believe so.
But yeah, they sort of go outside and they're wondering how they're going to get out of here to see what's going on, because the dogs can't open. It emphasizes they can't open door handles, they can't open the gates, but. They go to the gates and then the wind just blows them open, and when they leave it blows them back shut. So I guess if it is the happening, the wind is sort of in on it with them, as opposed to being the harbinger of doom that the wind was in the happening.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that, okay, that's the way this novel is going. That's sort of interesting that, oh my God, we can't open doorknobs. which puppy do we eat first? Obviously, this is what are we going to do for water? How are we going to figure this out?
Pongo's choice.
It was. This happened to me a couple weeks ago.
You had to pick which puppy to eat first?
Yes, no, that didn't happen to me. I went out onto my deck and I closed the door, and the deck door locked itself.
Oh, right. I remember this.
And so I was out on a deck that it's on a floor where there's nothing to shimmy down.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing. It is a railed deck that is too high. And I was like, well, time to start drinking my urine. Just like, what am I doing?
2 minutes in.
It really is like amazing how quickly your mind goes, wow, I'm doomed. I have no skills. I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have my phone. I can't. My neighbors are there's no way I can contact my neighbors. They're not home. I don't know. I figured I was dead.
Were you going to try? Would you have, if it really did come down to it, would you have tried to leap off the deck first, or would you have done the movie thing of take off your shirt, wrap it around your fist, and try to punch through a window with that?
I was doing the shimmying down. I was hanging off the deck and realized, if I dropped, I could hear the double snap.
Yeah.
See the green stick fracture coming through, and then 6 minutes later, my wife comes home. Honey, oh my God, why didn't you wait, you idiot?
Wasn't it during Minneapolis spring when it was also pretty cold out there or something?
It was cold and windy as well. Yes.
Well, I hope that we don't have, Pongo demanding, you've got to jump. It's the only way to save the missus. The bone.
Break all my paws.
The bone poked out of a spot. We don't know. This book goes in weird directions.
It does. It does.
Let's see. That was the end of chapter 1, I think. They're sort of going out to check in what's going on. Chapter 2 is called News from Downing Street.
Yes. Oh, I should point out the gates open and close themselves.
Yes.
So there's a bit of a yes. Anyway, that's just odd.
Yeah. I don't even think at this point in time they are thinking about it, but they do just sort of go up to them. It says, not only were they only just open, and Mrs. was afraid they might be too heavy to be pushed open wide enough, but as the dog approached, the gates swung inwards. How nice of the wind to help us, said Mrs. as they ran through the gates, which instantly closed behind them. So that's exactly what you get there. Things are just happening, as you would say.
The happening, yes.
The happening, the barking.
Chapter 2, we get a nice illustration, at least in my version of it.
Yeah, it's got a big bushy sheepdog, I think.
Sheepdog?
Yeah.
And a pigeon?
Yeah, the pigeon is, I guess, asleep in the
Sleeping,
ground,
yes.
watching him bark by. One of the best moments of me and Lauren's relationship was when she, at some point in time, it was revealed sort of gradually that she thought Barkley, the big fuzzy sheepdog on Sesame Street, had been portrayed by a real dog. So, do you know Big Bird's buddy Barkley?
Yeah, it's just a dog suit, right?
If you look it up, it is a very funny thing to have imagined. I mean, she was clearly remembering it from when she was 4, but it came back later. And if you just everyone take a moment right now and look up that dog and imagine someone telling you that they had always assumed it was a real dog, not even a dog in a dog suit.
It's almost as bad as someone thinking that Steve Miller was from Australia.
Right. Just to update you, I told you this. I was at one of my oldest and dearest friends at a gathering this weekend. I told that story, and he repeatedly said, I am shocked, truly shocked, to learn that Steve Miller is not Australian.
Why? Where did this come from?
So that could be the origin of it. In 3rd grade, he might have said that to me, and it just implanted itself in my mind.
Wow. All right. Well, get to the bottom of it. Ask him where.
I will. We'll do a series of podcasts like the time about my other friend who slapped me.
Right. Okay.
So the dogs start confessing that they feel unusually light as they're going about this mission of trying to track down other dogs, and they talk about how maybe that's because you haven't eaten, and they're like, no, I'm not even hungry. I can't even imagine being hungry. And I know something else. When all the dogs at Hell Hall wake up, they won't be hungry either. Which goes along with a lot of tactic in this book of the dogs just, knowing something, saying it as a fact, and it is, of course, a fact. They have this sort of sixth sense going on.
Yeah, they meet out. The magic comes quick, fast, and don't doubt it ever. If it's brought up, then it is a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 100%.
Yes, so they don't have to eat. There's a couple things that come up as well where they're just like, oh, didn't you know that's how it is now?
Right.
And they go, oh, okay, cool. All right. Add that to the list.
And I think maybe in Dodie's fifth mind, she was like, well, when Disney, adapts this one, it's going to be very easy just to show what a swoosh is, show what these dogs, now that they're feeling lighter than air, how they're moving. A little harder to convey in, children's text, I would say. But
yeah.
Disney was like, well, we're not going to be making this movie. This is so we're left to just interpret it as it's written on the page.
I have to imagine that would be the uncanny valley, something you don't necessarily want to see, right? Dogs sort of whooshing through the air. Well, we'll get to it.
Yeah, right. Yes,
because there's pictures of it, but it's sort of disturbing in a way.
Yeah, I agree. It's it is uncanny valley-ish. Dogs should have 4 feet on the ground. But yeah, they say it's easy to run this morning, more like swimming through air. And they go to see the general as they are moving that way, and that's the big bushy sheepdog.
He's surprisingly not an insurance general, little cartoon mustache guy with a helmet on.
Beautiful animation, just you can
so
tell.
Good.
A
lot of care went into that. But we do get in chapter 2, that's where they say that Mrs. was a famous mouse chaser.
Ooh.
There's a sleeping mouse.
Got it.
I was like, how famous?
Sure.
Like, who knows? I read once that, like, Boris Becker in Germany was 98% recognizable.
Wow.
That's like, so he can't go anywhere in Germany.
He couldn't have a trial by jury, like, as everyone knew who he was.
Right. Well, he did have it, didn't he?
Oh, no.
Boris Becker went to the big house.
Oh, dear.
For tax evasion. It was tax evasion, so yeah. But anyway, like, Taylor Swift level fame of Mouse Chaser, like, how famous?
Sure.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, they should weigh in. Like, was she, because, William Hung was famous for a while, but that's not something that you were, Bill Buckner, did she let a mouse go through her legs and achieve fame that way? Right.
Or Roadhouse, famous bouncer.
Oh, of course.
He walks into a bar and people are like, do you know who that is? That's that famous bouncer.
Of course I know who that is.
Of course I know. I recognize all bouncers by sight, but he's especially famous.
I do feel like there are, either dogs or cats who were famous mousers, though. I feel like that's something that there's a Wikipedia article about, like a cat who used to catch mice on a ship or something like that, or a famous rat-catching dog. So we'll look into that for next time.
Yeah, but I feel like with the mouse, it's usually cats, right?
Sure.
He's a mouser.
Yeah.
But so Mrs. was a famous mouse
dog.
Chaser.
Well, I guess if you
it doesn't mean she caught them; she just chased them. So anyway,
it was the 50s, so it's not like there was good TV on. So like, grab your coat, we're gonna go watch the 60s. Dog chase a mouse. Okay, well, I guess things were getting more interesting then.
Right.
The Beatles are on Ed Sullivan. Who cares? The dog is chasing a mouse. Which dog? The famous one. Oh.
So you mentioned the general. So he was previously a colonel. Yeah, there it is. He had been a colonel. Afterwards, with every justification, he made himself a general.
Oh, wow.
Is that how that works?
In this book,
Give
it seems to
be a field commendation.
The general stealing some valor.
Yes. Hey, I found a coat here with some extra stars on it. I guess that's me.
It also describes that he lives on a farm. So the ducks are sleeping, hens, pigeons, the pigs are all asleep. And it goes on to say that the general has a tabby cat friend who's asleep, and it says, "Never before has she let me down. As you know, I think of her more as a dog than a cat." Which is, maybe he's sort of trying to set the table for when he and the cat get married, just to have people be a bit more accepting of it. But then he gives the basket a kit and says, "Wake up, Major. Puss, please." So that was another thing I had to Control F, and that's unfortunately the only one in the book because that would also set the stage for hilarity. But oh well.
Oh, later there could have been a bitch, please.
Yes,
you know.
exactly.
But they say to the general, Pongo said, "It's been worse for you than for Mrs. and me, General. We had Prince and Perdita to talk to. You had no one, for the sheepdog was the only dog at the farm." So I, dry clicking his revolver in his mouth and weeping. What's going on? Again, eyeing that cat who he thinks of as a dog and seeing, like a hot dog
Right,
bun
yes.
steaming.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't know that anyone else isn't hungry, and he can convince himself, oh, they look happy when they're sleeping. Oh, they're probably just, they want me to do it. They know it's about to happen.
So how long was that process of him just like by himself seeing the world go to sleep? Like, oh God,
Yeah,
what
really.
is this?
I'm the only one who survived a gas leak. They discuss the boy, because he does live on a farm with a boy who is, they assure them that he is okay. He has Tommy. He has beautiful rosy cheeks and magnificent breathing. Pongo, just out of the blue, says, "Can he read already?" Well, not the words, but he reads the picture splendidly. So no, you can't read. But they sort of talk about how he's particularly fond of something called science fiction. So the book is a little self-aware, though. It seems very mysterious, they say.
He's reading someone called Garrett P. Service, but he only looks at the pictures of moon men, footprints.
Martians eyeing their dancing slaves. He's a big fan. But then they get a message, the sort of loud and clear, shrill barking from one of their daughters named CAD Pig.
CAD Pig.
Mm-hmm.
I had to look that up because, again, I don't know the lore. I believe CAD Pig is from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a name I would give my beloved daughter. I recently, some of you may know, I have a granddaughter now.
You were pushing hard for CAD Pig?
Guys, like CAD Pig?
Or like Helga or something like that? Just an old-timey name that's...
Consider it. No, but there's a lot of pressure, right? And the first time you say it to other people, there's, of course, the reaction. There's only one reaction that should be said, and that is, "Oh, how lovely," or
delightful.
"How wonderful, delightful. I'm sure you are so happy."
But,
But you do get those people who go, "What? Where'd you get that from?" Stuff that happened to me. Anyway, I think
with what?
CAD
With
Pig,
August?
I don't know. With August, yes.
Okay.
Because people, they don't know that the month is not... August came
The month
before
came
the
from
month.
something, yeah.
Yes. Anyway, but CAD Pig, I looked it up. I have something to share with you. You know our delight over, when the comment section of YouTube became...
Oh, sure.
Instead of rage and racism and hate, it became...
eulogies?
Yeah, just like strange, mawkish, weird eulogies.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all upvoted. I just find that very odd. And I assume people are doing it performatively now just to try to get the number one comment.
Who knows?
Anyway, I looked up the CAD Pig, and here I found the nationalpurebreddogday.com.
That sounds a little fax-kingy.
It's very fax-kingy. It says, what's the name of the smallest of the 101 Dalmatians? CAD Pig. English in origin, term used for the smallest piglet in a litter of pigs, not to be confused with runt. Okay, what's the difference?
Yeah, really.
Anyway, that's the name. It describes her. She was very much into New Age philosophies and did her best to spread goodwill. So that's throughout the world. She's not as strong as her brothers and sisters, but she's more learned, had a developed worldview. With her extensive vocabulary, gift for sarcasm, and use of metaphysical metaphors,
okay, yeah, we get some.
She was a standout Dalmatian. Okay, there you go. And there's a little picture of her right here.
So they say not to be confused with the runt, even though it appears to be the exact same definition?
I don't know what that means.
Maybe it's just like runt had some negative... I mean, CAD Pig sounds pretty negative too, but like, wow.
So I look down, I see like, oh my gosh, nationalpurebreddogday.com. there's 2 comments on it. On this little listing with a little picture of CAD Pig.
Oh, no. So picture of CAD Pig, you mean like from the animated movie?
From the animated movie, yes. Not a photo. Sorry. And here's a comment. Now, I should be clear. I do not want to make fun of this person's grief or anything. That is not my intent. It's just like, who would go to
nationalpurebreddogday.com
and leave this comment? One California day, a small Dalmatian runt, wrong word, sir, walked in front of my car as I was driving. Obviously a discarded runt, blue eye and a brown. We had a quick chat about the situation over a bowl of needed water. She jumped in my car. 15 years later, a world traveler, a model.
Oh my God.
Dad's special girl passed on.
Oh my God.
As with all of them, every day was special. My Scrappy. Smart as a whip. My last rescue has left a very large hole in our lives. Love the runts. She had an amazing run, more than most humans. Under the full moon, she runs our yard and fields still. Here we go. My wolf dog and I are still in shock.
You've left me with some questions, sir. Wow. So you got a whole Marley and me in a comment section there.
In a comment section on nationalpurebreddogday.com under the CAD Pig entry.
Wow.
So, again, not making fun of the gentleman's grief. I'm just simply saying, what a weird...
Yeah, you could at least, write into Dog Fancy or something like that.
Yes.
Holy crap. That's incredible. Good find.
And then, of course, the comment below it is...
Ha ha! Eat it, lame-o!
Yeah. It's a slur. No, it's... what a remarkable tribute you've written about your girl. She sounds like... And then goes on.
Wow.
Love it, man. Peace, brother.
That's incredible. So he didn't even use the terminology CAD Pig or name the dog CAD Pig. It was just about runts and the runts being they're better. Wow. He's going to go to Amazon and look at a 3-pound bulk bag of Runts candy and leave a similar comment. Also, the banana ones can go to hell. All right. Well, I think we should link to that in the description just so people can take a look themselves.
Okay. I hope they don't take it down for some reason.
No, I think it'll be special. We still get Fax King submissions every now and then, so it's important to do. Well, CAD Pig, not the runt, even though she is, lives at number 10 Downing Street, home of the Prime Minister.
Yes.
And then she sort of, the author interjects and says, and now we must learn what had been happening to the smallest, prettiest, and bossiest of the 15 puppies, like the OG 15, Pongo and Mrs. Purebred stock. She moved in with the Prime Minister because, like you said before, Mr. Dearly, it says the government had now got itself into such trouble that even Mr. Dearly didn't know how to get out of it. So I had missed where it said he was a finance wizard or whatever. I just the government is, about to default on its debt, so they call the local dog breeder.
Yeah, I think he was. I assumed just from context that he was helping out the Prime Minister.
Yeah, it said he had at one time been called a wizard of finance.
Oh, okay.
So I guess he just there must have just been a difference between the book and the movie.
Gotcha. Okay.
She drove out to number 10 Downing Street with Mr. Dearly. They opened the door of the car. She had seen the Prime Minister on TV before and then bolted out of the car, treated him with such slavish affection that he was extremely flattered. And a policeman who attempted to remove CAD Pig was waved aside. So that's some serious humping going on there. That is what's going on. The leg. She's just locked onto the leg.
It's the red rocket. But the Prime Minister was flattered. He was deeply touched. Tears sprang to his eyes. Nowadays, he was so often criticized and even bullied, so seldom treated kindly. And I was like, boy, she's leaving out a lot of condoms filled with pee, isn't she?
Yeah, really. Yes, exactly. Contacting psychics and, just, eating his own hair or something. He seems deeply unwell.
Poor guy.
He begged to be allowed to keep CAD Pig. Who is he begging?
I'm the prime minister. But
Yeah.
hey, he answers to the parliament. So
It sounds like there's someone running a puppet regime going on behind the scenes. If that's the kind of mental health that he's exhibiting right now.
yeah, poor guy being bullied by his own people. But then he makes a speech, and she appears, like she runs up and starts humping him, and people are like, "Oh, delightful."
Yeah, he's like the little girl that walked in as that one guy was, the girl who like marched in like a detective coat. It looked like as that guy was doing a Zoom call. It was like the first ever kid interrupting a parent's Zoom interview, and she gave that.
That one was so great.
CAD Pig did that, but it says she sort of had a ulterior motive of she had loved television since she was a tiny puppy and longed to appear on it. Indeed, that was her main reason for coming to Downing Street. So CAD Pig is just literally a basic bitch. She's like someone who wanted to be on The Real World or something. Just I don't care. I just want to be on TV. Well, I'm going to be famous. Do you care if you look bad or not? I do not.
No.
But yeah, she somehow lucked into the prime minister's thing. So now she establishes a major influence here over the dogs of the UK.
Yes, and she's famous. And how long after
that happened?
Yeah, like what are we talking here? And the prime minister's government, it obviously survived this whatever this economic downturn, right?
Yeah, and hopefully he got his shit together too, so he's not crying when he sees a puppy. But maybe it's maybe CAD Pig was doing like that octopus who picked the World Cup winners. Just he holds out different tax policies in front of her, and whichever one she lifts her leg on, like that's the one he uses or something.
Yeah, so he was like the counting horse or something.
Yes.
Add
Right.
4 + 4.
Or it could be, and yeah, so everything's going great, and they're like, let's see, go talk to the prime minister about how he handles this, and they do see her just sniffing the tax policies, and they realize how horrible things have gotten, and he's immediately guillotined into town square. But it goes on to describe how that she's communicating with them, because they are still very far away. She's in London, and it says that's 60 miles away, and the conversation to London had to be relayed by nearly 500 dogs, all doing sort of like a game of telephone, which I got the name right in the introduction episode, was called the Twilight Barking.
Yeah.
So
that's the only thing I know about that movie is the Twilight Barking.
Okay, which is just sort of one leans out the window, the other one hears it and barks it down the road.
Yeah, it's Peter Jackson's lighting the fires on top of the mountains, and the music swells and the dogs bark.
Nice.
Yeah.
But they now are able to hear her without any intervention from 60 miles away, which is just sort of reported that you can do it, and they think it's curious and then accept it. And then they say, we got to get in touch with all the dogs who aren't in England. And Pongo says, but you can't bark across the sea. And CAD Pig says, not bark exactly, but, well, I'm barking to you and you're barking to me, but I'm almost sure we're really reaching each other by thought waves. It's all part of the strangeness this morning, and I think I can extend my thought waves when I've had more practice. So that's just her innate sense is that she will soon be able to extend her thought waves.
So I missed the fact that I didn't understand what was going on. I thought they were barking, but they were thinking. But they're also just barking?
I think that's true because she starts using some like bark jokes that are upcoming. So it reminded me. Do you know the Far Side cartoon? That's Professor Schwartzman's dog translator, and it's this guy out in the street, and he's got this goofy helmet on, and he's finally able to understand what dogs are saying, and every dog is just going, "Hey, hey, hey," like chasing a car, be like, "Hey, hey, hey." So that's sort of what I'm imagining here is the dogs are just like barking normally, but they're all hearing each other what they're saying.
So we get that magical thing where like, okay, and he's like, you need to come to London. CAD Pig says you got to come to London. He's like, I don't do politics. It's like, no, it's we got to rescue the world or whatever.
The fate of dogdom, she says.
Yes, and he says, well, no, it's that's 2 days, and she goes, no. I dashed down the stairs at full speed and wished I could go faster, and then I found I was going faster. I was skimming over the stairs without touching them, like flying, but my feet were just off the ground. it's sort of a swoosh. You float on the air and you can regulate your speed just by thinking about it. Do you understand?
There's a gas leak in the Prime Minister's house. You've got to get out of there, CAD Pig.
Yes, there's something is deeply wrong. The depression that was descending upon your boss, it's obviously hit you. Please get medication.
Pongo's actual response, I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
You do?
I was just kidding, man. I should point out that this reminded me of the fact that, when I was young, did you have the flying dreams?
Oh, sure. They're great.
Oh, they're the best. And then you wake up, you're like, dang, man, I could go anywhere. As I've aged, I no longer have flying dreams. Occasionally I have a dream where I can descend the stairs without touching them. And then you wake up and go, I guess that'd be kind of cool, but it doesn't really. I could go downstairs like 3 times faster than I can normally go downstairs. My expectations have obviously been deeply lowered as I get older.
Oh, man. Dreaming of getting to the airport and there being a slightly shorter than usual security line.
Oh baby. Don't wake me up.
Oh, look at him. He's smiling in his sleep. He must be having the airport
line. Oh, he's breathing beautifully.
Our beautiful breathers. But Pongo then immediately feels like he needs to give it a try. He says he's going to try it, but then he breaks off, staring in astonishment because Mrs. is swooshing around the farmyard. I can do it, she cried triumphantly. And now the sheepdog, the general, was swooshing too. So that's where I control F'd swoosh. Any guesses on how many swooshes we're going to get here? Because they start to stack up really quickly.
Well, let's see. This is called the Great Swooshing, right? So I'm going to say there's 40.
104.
Wow. This is a short book.
Yeah, really. It's like 30K words, so that's a decent proportion of them.
Wow.
And then the way that these dogs are conveying this to himself, because Pongo's still sort of hung up on this, Mrs. just says, hey, remember that hovercraft we saw on television? Imagine you're a hovercraft, Pongo. And I was wondering if they saw the upcoming RiffTrax release, Fatal Combat.
Yeah.
Which prominently featured a hovercraft. I feel like we were promised a lot more hovercrafts in the 80s. That was sort of like...
Hovercrafts were big, yeah. And, if you've got, what's this, Popular Science magazine? It was always like, plans to build a hovercraft. People really wanted to hover.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It didn't seem to have many advantages, but
we just got the segue, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
and he said, it says Pongo vividly remembered the hovercraft. So they're watching TV. Like, what was that? Like an episode of, Columbo, and it just had a hovercraft in it. Like, I don't remember anything else, but there was a hovercraft.
Yeah, it's like his moon landing, I guess, or something like that. Yes. Then he thinks of the hovercraft, and then he found himself skimming all over the land. It felt delightful. And then Mrs. says to CAD Pig, your father's a magnificent swoosher now. Mrs. barked to CAD Pig, sorry.
Yes.
And then they fill you in on some details. The Minister of Transport dog's been timing us. She thinks we can do about 30 miles an hour. So I had to look that up because I was like, well, that doesn't seem super impressive. But greyhounds sprint at 40 to 45 miles an hour and can sustain 35 miles an hour for about 7 miles. So they're the fastest dog in the world. So it's a little below that. So I guess it's good for a dog, but it's not like they're traveling at the like light rail speeds or anything like that. Bullet trains.
Right, and I suppose it's it saves the wear and tear. Like horses when they run, don't they have to have the drugs because they run so hard that it tear their lungs tear.
Good Lord.
So they have to that's why they always say when you go to the racetrack, it's like, there's a little asterisk and it's like, this horse is on whatever. That's what one time I asked a knowing person. They're like, oh, that's because their lungs have fluid in them all the time from running so hard, which I guess is a sort of natural. It's not like they're not being tortured. That just happens.
Right. But I would still maybe not bet on that horse. If there was one that didn't have fluid in its lungs. I think they're all on it.
Oh, okay. I think it's just that's what they do. So I don't know why the asterisk, but there's not like a one of those guys is like a natural bodybuilder, and then they find out you're roiding up just like everybody else. That's what horses do. I'm not taking that stuff for my lungs. Give me that stuff for my lungs, man.
Before I had such a positive and wholesome view of the horse track people, but this has shattered my thought of the guy with the racing form smoking a cigar.
You know those gunshots you hear? Do I have to disillusion you about the wonderful world of horse racing?
I think I'm going to head out there now. There's one, probably about 45 minutes from my house. That seems like a good a Thursday afternoon at the West Virginia horse track. That's pretty much like the It's a Small World ride at Disneyland in terms of the wholesomeness.
The best and the brightest of your area will be there at that time.
So they talk about how the extraordinary behavior of doors. They're pretty much opening telekinetically when you need them to open around the Prime Minister's house.
Mm-hmm.
And Pig, what's it?
CAD Pig.
War Pigs, CAD Pig, says that she's pretty sure the whole business is metaphysical. Don't you agree, Father? Well, yes and no, Pongo said, before deciding that before he met CAD Pig, he somehow had to find out what metaphysical meant. It's a little bit of humor here from Dodie Smith.
Yeah, I guess that's funny because, is it metaphysical? I flew here, so yeah, I'm going to say yes. But, yes, it's funny that he didn't know what metaphysical meant.
Sure, and I'll agree to look it up. But then, this is when things start escalating quickly. CAD Pig says, now I must go. I've got dozens of things to do. Oh, I almost forgot. Please bring a strong force of Dalmatians with you. I may form a private army.
Oh, boy.
Which you will command, Father. I mean, so yeah, things are escalating quickly. CAD Pig is sort of attempting to seize the reins of power now that she's out of the Prime Minister's house. And I
have taken over the banks, and I now own the oil companies. Please bring an army, is what she should have said.
Exactly. And we shall need plenty of our own breed.
Boy.
So we were promised an odd book with some big thoughts in it, and I think this is where they sort of start stacking up. We had dogs marrying, cats marrying, but the army exclusively of their own breed to immediately seize control from the seat of power is not something I was super prepared for.
Speaking of super prepared, super constitution comes to mind here.
I'll just read it now. A listener did write in saying that he felt that he was not prepared for the super constitution-esque screed in this.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He just said, it was from Brian. He just says, there's things later coming, but he says CAD Pig, having taken control of her government, calls for an army to be assembled and that it be made up primarily of her own breed, which the police dogs enforce. Is this a children's book or a thinly veiled super constitution-esque political screed?
Wow, okay.
If you had told me right away which is the first book of the other 24 we've read this will be compared to, that would not have been my first guess.
No.
I might have guessed Meg Muldoon, because that had, a dog eating pie. That seemed like a more likely candidate.
Right. What was that dog's name? The pie-eating dog?
Oh, was it Scraps?
The one who she
I can't
clearly
remember.
was poisoning with her.
Yes.
Leaving full pies out for.
Yeah, pie crust full of lard. Scraps pops to mind, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
She says to go get an army, and the general. This is just not a sentence I would have expected to encounter either. The general then urged them to hurry back to Hell Hall and collect their army.
So she's full Saruman. Make me an army, will you? Yes, my liege.
Wow, but the runt sitting next to the prime minister is who's doing that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And Mrs. says, none of them are any kind of soldiers. They're just dogs. And let's go on thinking them as dogs for as long as we can. So it's a little ominous end to the chapter.
Wow, yeah, a little like World War One. We were just kids, kind of a thing. Who knows what kind of bloody thing is coming?
I'm excited to find out.
Yeah.
Do you end of chapter 2? Do you want to do some fanfic before chapter 3?
Sure, let's do it.
Fanfic.
All right, so we have had, just like 10,000 words of the Starlight Barking, but our listeners have, I feel like, done a good job of adapting to the very unique style of this book, very unique subject matter, and they've written some diabolical fan fiction that you're going to attempt to guess here.
Okay.
Your batting average hovers above 500. I mean, it's good. I feel like it got raised with the last book, so you are more down on yourself than I feel like everybody else is. But I guess that's how it goes. You feel like you could be doing better. But
I should be at 100%.
So this is either all these could be all real sections from later in Starlight Barking, or they could all be fanfic written by our listeners, or it could be a combination of the two. And this is where we usually plug the Patreon, which is patreon.com/372pages, where you can get every episode a week early. You can get all the fun bonus stuff we've done, like the Encyclopedia Brown mysteries you've been attempting to solve recently.
Those are fun. Yeah, I want more of those.
The Encyclopedia Brown mysteries are usually like his lucky pencil went missing, and Encyclopedia has to track it down, or the one that we covered a week ago where a clown abducted a boy in his van, and they have to
to which the local priest was a witness of the abduction.
They're quite wacky and quite fun, and sometimes the puzzles are absolutely maddening. Your track record with those is lower than your fanfic record, so I think
is it?
Well, it's 50%, I think. So we've only done 4 of them.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's the one that's like a total cheat. So,
I mean, there was one that was just like a computer couldn't solve it. It was like you pretty much had to just be like, like every 7th letter is E, which indicates that I don't know. Anyway. So, yeah, check out patreon.com/372pages. We appreciate and, dare I say, love every single person who supports it deeply and abidingly.
Yeah, and in a dog-like fashion, I would say. Like you're a tradesman and I'm a dog.
All right, so these are 5 sections. Here's number 1. Pongo and Perdita followed the poodle through a series of alleys and streets that twisted and turned, and on occasion wound through back gardens. Pongo felt sure he'd become horribly lost if he attempted to retrace his steps, though Perdita had always had a better nose for directions than he. Right here, the poodle said. I saw CAD Pig in here. She hurried into a dark warehouse, and Pongo followed, with Perdita close behind. Pongo felt a chill run through him, not unlike the winter nights when the Dearleys would take him on lawn walks in the fresh snow. Stay close, he said to Perdita. He could barely see past his own muzzle. Suddenly, with a horrible noise, something dropped from the sky and crashed to the ground around him as a bright light turned on. It became apparent he and Perdita were surrounded by a thick cage that had come crashing down from above. The poodle came trotting around the cage. Perdita shouted, "Where is CAD Pig? Why have you put us in a cage?" "Because that is where you belong," the poodle said haughtily. "It is only natural for a dog to be in a cage."
Wow. So it is... what is it, like The Last of Us or whatever? Like
turning on each other.
Turning on each other, sure, like all those movies. Boy, oh boy. I don't know. I'll say it's real.
Okay. Number 2. Up till today, Mrs. had thought that a cabinet was a piece of furniture in which ornaments were shut away from puppies. But she had by now gathered that, in Downing Street, a cabinet was a group of dogs who would help CAD Pig to govern England. And this was the room in which they met. She need not have worried about a shortage of chairs. There were more than she could count, placed around a very long table. Tall windows opened onto a terrace, which had steps leading down to the garden, where the Dalmatian army was being entertained by cabinet ministers. From the terrace, to which CAD Pig took them, Mrs. could see over a wall to the Horse Guards parade, which was packed with dogs. Pongo said, "What a magnificent sight. It looks as if every breed of dog is represented." "Except corgis," said CAD Pig. "They're all sitting outside Buckingham Palace."
A little joke there. I don't know. I'm going to say that's fanfic, but again, I have no idea.
Okay.
And by the way, what is it? The Horse Guards?
Mrs. could see over a wall to Horse Guards parade.
Yes. Okay. That's I assumed when I read that, which it's upcoming, it's probably in this chapter, that is a real thing.
Okay.
That, the British and their names, where they just go, just take a right by Horse Guards. Wait, what?
You didn't look on that up? That wasn't mentioned on Show Dog birthday.com or whatever it was.
Hang on, I've got it up here. What is it? No, I don't have it. Sorry. Okay. I got rid of it.
All right. Well, we'll consult facts.
Purebred. Oh, there it is. NationalPurebredDogDay.com.
All right. Get on it, man. All right. So you said that was fanfic.
Yes.
And number 3. If we have humans and dogs on our planet, would it be so strange if other planets had humans and dogs as well? Mrs. asked. Pongo thought about this. From the movies he had seen on television, he had always imagined other planets to be strange and scary places. But wouldn't the dogs on those other planets think the same things about Earth? Maybe these other dogs got rid of their humans and now want to help us do the same, said Pongo. But why? Our humans are such nice pets, said Mrs. Maybe their humans weren't nice. What if they were all mean, like Cruella Deville, asked Pongo. Mrs. shuddered. Then they wouldn't have had a choice.
Wow, it goes metaphysical on us. Plus, isn't it a little bit like they were token and like, what if the people on other planets?
What if dogs or cats there and they see blue as green?
Yeah, would we even know? You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm going to say fanfic.
Okay. We do get some of that talk later, I think, in the very next section. Number 4. Let us now praise famous dogs. Sirius then mentioned every breed of dog. This took a long time as every breed responded with enthusiastic barks. And he did not forget dogs of mixed breed for whom he said he had a special admiration. Such dogs are often both beautiful and intelligent. But what are they called by humans? They are called mongrels, a most insulting name. One dog of mixed breed answered Sirius Black. Some of us are much loved. I have a good home. But your owners are always apologizing for you, said Sirius. Haven't you heard them say, oh, he's just a mutt. We call him Heinz, or 57 varieties. That dog didn't answer. It so happened that his name was Heinz. But what was wrong with that? Sirius continued. Anyway, there isn't one dog in the world, even though he be the champion of his breed, even the best dog in the show, who isn't dragged about by his neck, bathed when he doesn't wish to be bathed, shut up, forced to obey, and many unfortunate dogs are beaten, starved, arrested by the police. Oh, please no, murmured Mrs.
Wow, okay. Social commentary. Did not expect that as well. See, this is one of those where it's like, if I pick it as real, and then you go, that one you picked? But it seems like that's one that someone would pull out as real and go, Mike will be fooled by this. See my dilemma?
I came powder, baby.
So I'm going to say, because you said that I would want this to be real, I'm going to say that is real.
Okay, it's real.
I'm going to actually say real.
Got it. All right. And the final one, number 5. Can you take us to Cruella Deville, said Mrs. Don't forget to press the button if you're going to try to ask the robot a question, Pongo gently reminded her. Oh, how silly of me, said Mrs. Then she nudged the button with her nose and repeated, Can you take us to Cruella Deville? Yes, replied the robot. It continued to rattle and whir, but it did not move from the spot where it stood. CAD Pig snorted and said, This robot is rubbish, Mother. We are going to have to search the factory ourselves. The Dalmatians turned away from the metal man and began sniffing for clues. But the old sheepdog marched up to the microphone, knocked his nose hard against the green button, and barked, Take us to Cruella Deville! The robot obediently turned and began rolling down the highway on its many little wheels with a trail of dark oil splattering in its wake. Follow me, please, it hummed.
Wow. See? Gosh. Devious. Absolutely devious. Because we know that she is in this book from our reading today, not yet. And we know that she does have a factory. I don't know, though. I'm going to say that the metal man is just a bridge too far. So I'm going to say that was fanfic.
Fanfic? You think it's inspired by the steam man of the prairies?
I think it is a little bit of a callback to that.
It's the steam man of the, what is it? The Horses Guards
Parade? Horse Guards Parade.
Make that movie. All right. Well, let's see how you did. I think you might have had a rough start, but might have righted the ship by the end. Number 1 was the cage dropping on them, being imprisoned by a poodle. You said real. That was fanfic written by Ezra.
Thank you, Ezra.
Number 2 was the Horse Guards Parade, and every dog is there except for the corgis are outside Buckingham Palace. You thought that was fanfic, a pander to my fandom of corgis. That is actually real.
Son of a...
Sent in by both Claudine and Craig, both, I think, who assumed the corgi thing would make you think it was fanfic written into a pander to.
Iocane powder. See what I'm up against? 0 for 2.
That's 0 for 2. Number 3 was the dogs smoking weed and wondering if there's dogs on other planets and what their humans are like. You said fanfic for that. That was fanfic written by Curtis. Okay. Well done.
Number 3.
Number 4 was Let Us Now Praise Famous Dogs and mongrels named Heinz. You said real for that. That is real, submitted by Janelle. So that's pretty nuts coming up.
Wow.
What does Let Us Now Praise Famous Men come from?
What poem is that?
I knew that was from something. But yeah, it looks like there's a book and photographs about the Great Depression. Oh, The Wisdom of Sirach? Who knows? Anyway.
Quick interjection about Heinz.
Okay.
You know Heinz 57?
Yep.
Right, we have 57 varieties.
Yes.
He was this weird German dude, and one time he was driving, and he saw on a billboard the number 57, and he goes, "Man, that looks good." And then so he just made up the fact that they had 57 things.
Wow.
So they either had more, they had way more, or way fewer. Like, it didn't make any sense, but he said there's something about 57. And so they put it on everything, and then everyone was like, "Did you know that Heinz has 57 varieties?"
Wow. So much of the stuff we take for granted are just lunatics having these insane ideas.
Yes.
Like Kellogg's, like cornflakes were designed to tamp down the urges, right? That was like the whole point. Like,
yes, graham crackers were to cure alcoholism. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
That was Graham. All those weirdos who would set up like communes and stuff.
Man.
Anyway.
Well, yeah. I just like the look of the number 57. It's
57?
George Costanza wanting to name his daughter.
Yeah.
And then, so right now you are 2 for 4. Final one was the searching the factory with the robots, who they activate with their noses. You said fanfic, and that is fanfic, written by Chap.
Ooh,
so
all right.
3 for 5, up 60%. That probably raises your total thing.
It's tough to come out of the box and whiff like that. But,
I know.
It's good to then I rocked back, I adjusted, I redid my batting gloves, and sprayed a couple to the outfield.
Yeah, like the home run derby. You call your time and then come out and sock a few dingers. So
exactly.
Well done. Thanks to everyone who submitted theirs. Those were quite fun. I think it's only going to get more nuts. And once you've got talk of breeding and all that going on, I think you
want to get nuts.
You set the stage for some special fan fiction. Let's move on to chapter 3, which is the meaning of metaphysical, and it starts with just a tremendous illustration of a dog's ass.
Yes.
So that's we'll post that along with the.
No word on, because it's black and white. No word on whether those are liver spots or Dalmatian spots. Sure. We don't know.
Yes. And they the first thing that I noticed in this was that Mrs. was happy to discover that she could swoosh sitting. So that is like a dog doing a carpet scoot, but doing a swoosh scoot. So
a never-ending scoot.
So we've pretty much covered everything I want from the book. We've got scooting, we've got implied humping. So I can die happy.
Implied, it's pretty much right out there.
Tradesman humping.
Yes.
And they are thankful that. He says that suppose we meet a policeman, all the policemen will be asleep. Well, that's something to be thankful for.
Yeah, I was wondering what were all these confrontations with the police? With the Dalmatians have a very low view of police.
Yeah, they've got like that Predator meme of Arnold and Carl Weathers shaking hands, but it's Dalmatians and NWA on the on the thing. Perhaps they were just all like cartoon dog catchers with big nets type of thing. Oh,
that's probably what they're thinking of, rather than the guy like swinging his little baton with the those goofy helmets on, going, "What's all this?
What's all this then?"
Yes.
Where did that trope come from?
I don't know. I feel like it's, as far back as Python, but it's probably before that,
Okay.
I'm assuming. Yeah. What's all this then?
Well, they're headed back to Hell Hall, and they keep emphasizing that none of these dogs are hungry, which I think was just a way to avoid the, leavings being everywhere with no humans to pick it up.
I think, yes, as they call it in Britain, the dog dirt, which I think is one of the... Somehow that's worse, you know what I mean?
Yeah, really.
I mean, droppings is not fun. Scat, all the words for it are terrible, but dog dirt, that's just awful.
Yeah. But they return home, and then there's some puppy washing going on, of course.
Yeah, the puppy washing looms large in this.
Mm-hmm.
Perdita soothed them, and every pup will start the emergency spotlessly clean. Under a shady tree, Perdita could be seen puppy washing.
And she has a mania for it? Is that what it said?
She's a mania for washing. But
please,
also,
you're taking off patches of fur, Perdita.
Stop.
Unclean.
He's already dead. Oh, it's like the time I brought my sons and their wives to San Diego, and I said, "Oh, we gotta go." Even though I don't like to do it, I'll go to Seal Beach.
Oh, nice.
And so we brought them to Seal Beach, and I swear, not all my stories are like this, but there was one of the seals had given birth to a not alive pup, right?
Dear.
And so was down by the water. The mother, the grieving mother, was by the water, and the dead seal was up on the beach a bit, and two birds kept coming.
Oh my God!
After the corpse, and the mother kept coming up and chasing the birds away. And my daughters-in-law were like, "This is what you wanted us to see here. This is fun. Thanks." I'm like, I didn't expect that this would happen.
It really is just like, and because that's a place that everyone is like, our kids will love to see the seals. Let's bring the 4-year-old down there. Why isn't that one moving, Mommy? It's time for brunch.
Oh, it was just awful, and it kept happening. So she'd go back down to the water, and then the birds would be like, "I think now's our chance."
Wow, I mean,
yeah, it was grim.
Seagulls escalate from a abandoned Jimmy John sub to pecking the flesh off a dead seal pretty quickly.
Yes.
Man, don't fall asleep on La Jolla beaches.
Anyway, puppy washing.
Sure, it's delightful. Pongo also announces an intention to hold a swooshing class, which he says firmly.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to teach every dog there how to swoosh. But then we get into, I believe, my favorite part of this one. We teased this a little bit in the fanfic, but they're sort of talking about some of the other dogs that are here.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky, Prince. There's just it's like a Game of Thrones amount of characters. But they talk to Patch.
Yes. I knew he would come on.
It says he's talking to Patch. It says, "What a blessing that Lucky's chosen a wife as bright as he is. They'll be a great help. So will Patch." And he's longing to see CAD Pig. Patch had never married. Yeah, and you want to know why? Because he had found out that for the good of the Dalmatian breed, he ought not to hand on his patched ear. But he had not been unhappy. He had become sort of an uncle dog and was tremendously popular with puppies. He was always ready to play with them, and he loved them all. So, I mean, if you had eugenics on your Starlight Barking agenda, congratulations. You're deeply weird, but you predicted something that happens in Chapter 3.
I also thought for a moment. So, Uncle Patch, who's your friend there? Oh, this is my roommate. Why is he married? Oh no, he also has a.
His ears look normal to me, Uncle Patch.
No, his tail has a flaw. There, you'll see.
Yeah, he does wag his tail a lot more when you're around. I did notice.
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna go. There's a decorating shop we want to hit, and. Okay, Uncle Patch.
Yeah,
see ya.
Your longtime companion is a great guy. So yeah, that's so it has this, and this is also what our listener Brian pointed out. It gets eugenicsy really quickly for the good of the breed, I don't know what a patched ear even means. It just got bitten or something. But
I don't know. Yeah.
if you look down at the next two illustrations in your copy, those dogs who were swooshing, their paws appear to be, especially in the second one, there's a puppy giving a little swoosh, a.k.a. salute, where their leg is held.
Ah, I see that
straight
now.
out there.
Wow. Oh, boy.
So, this was, you said it was the 60s, so maybe this was when things were starting to, people who endorsed some of the lessons of the defeated in World War II were starting to maybe test the waters a bit more to see if there was a receptive audience that had popped back up.
Boy, oh boy. Okay, yeah, I see it in both pictures now.
Yes.
All right. Oh boy.
Yeah, we'll have to post these for people who aren't able to see them in either on the social media or in the post. But, yeah.
By the way, I brought up the fact that Volkswagen is, was explicit. It was started by the Nazis,
Okay.
even though you can argue like Porsche designed the original, whatever. Anyway, I said that to someone. I made a joke about it, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, you didn't know that's what the Volks, the Volksland was what Hitler was going to establish. And the Volks car, he made it so that it would fit 2 adults and 3 children in the back and would be cheap enough so the Volks could afford it when they went to the Volksland. And they thought I was like, they thought I was a barking dog. I'm like, you didn't know this? Like, I'm not making this up. They're like, Volkswagen is Nazis, Mike. Like, no, it is. I had to get out of there quickly. Like, look, I'm just going to stop talking.
Yeah, really. The coffee shop is sort of turning their heads.
Why are you saying Nazis so much?
But it is true. It's not Steve Miller, Australian.
No, it's true. It is 100% true.
That makes sense. All right. Well, we've said Nazi approximately 10 times more than I expected in the sequel to 101 Dalmatians. But it's right there on the page.
I didn't expect to say.
Yes. And then, so Patch is the dog who's been eugenicsed into bachelordom. And then we have Roly Poly, who is the fat pup, who had so many accidents, who is now a fat dog, who still had accidents. And so we all get this. We all understand what's going on here, but she feels the need to keep elaborating. And as he was larger, they were larger. And that is the one thing that I think that when you talk to someone who's like got a Newfoundland or, a big standard poodle, they're like, yeah, that's something you don't really think about when you get them. But exponentially, the amount of, your bags get a lot heavier when you're cleaning up after them.
Yeah, and it so the fat dog, that's their words.
Yes.
Crashes through a hedge. It says when he was swoosh, when he wasn't saluting, they found that Roly Poly hadn't done himself any harm, though he hadn't done a hedge any good. So, like, wow, like smash through and like a hedge. You know how hard it is to go through a hedge?
Yeah, really, it's mostly stick. Like,
yeah, like really old, thick hardwood sticks. So, wow. Good for you, Roly Poly.
Yeah, I imagine he left, an outline of himself, imprinted
Sure.
in the hedge, cartoon style.
Yes.
Because, it does have that sort of, I feel like Disney movies would do it, but also a lot of 80s comedies, Goonies. The fat kid is, always eating and stuff like that. So it was just a stereotype here. Except the fat kid is always, I guess, taking huge Dalmatian dumps is his characteristic. So fingers crossed that's how they do in Cruella Deville or something like that.
Huge Dalmatian dumps.
Oh my, I seem to have stepped in some rather large dog dirt.
It has covered my shoe, this dirt has.
So he tries to make sure none of them have any difficulty learning to swoosh, but he wants to make sure all the dogs coming with him to London in their army were strong swooshers. And then we get this this calls to mind one of our favorite lines from a bad movie we've ever done. He says, so looking at like the nannies who live with them.
Yeah, the 2 nannies, yeah.
But Mrs. says, how kind they've always been to them. Do you remember that night when they helped us wash the suit off us and all the puppies? It's like, yeah, that was pretty much the defining event of our lives. I do, of course, remember it, much like the line in Mortal Kombat. Remember when our parents died?
hang on. No, maybe you and I lived a different. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. Like I remember watching the premiere of ABC's Dinosaurs, but I guess you define your important life moments, and I'll define mine. So.
Yeah, it's like when you meet someone and you're like, hey, remember that time we left school and we skipped and we went and saw that movie? And they're like, no, I don't remember that. No, it was a big deal. Like, we got in trouble. No, that didn't happen. You know, like, don't deny one of my memories. You just don't remember it. Nah, that didn't happen.
Yeah. Remember the time we fled the police and then a woman washed all the soot off our dogs when the woman was trying to make them into fur coats? Yeah. That's imprinted. I wake up screaming about it.
That's I'm like the Prime Minister. I can't get it out of my head. I weep every time I see it.
But then that gives them the first time that they've talked about Cruella Deville in this book. Well, I mean, they mentioned during the prologue, but it says, thank goodness this one can't have anything to do with Cruella Deville. As we know, she had to leave England. So they sort of like poochied her. She died on the way back to her home planet. But then on the very next line, Pongo says, but... Pongo broke off in time. Some months earlier, he had heard the Dearly saying that Cruella had come back. All right, so that just happened. It's like in those new Star Wars movies where Palpatine just came back.
And I love that he just withholds the information from his beloved wife. How long have they been married? They've got
in dog years? Yeah. To decades. A
good long marriage, and then he's like, but... She's like, wait, honey, what? You were going to say something. No. It's just funny. That's all. I was thinking of this time that something happened. Yeah. And it was funny. Because if she's back, you would tell. Of course I would. Yeah. Why would I withhold anything from you, my sweet?
We'd all be in severe danger for the woman who tried to kill us and swore revenge.
Skin our children,
our beloved puppies, grandpuppies, great grandpuppies.
Slit their throats and make a coat. No, everything's fine.
Her last name is Devil, literally. Which I must confess, that had never occurred to me until I read the Wikipedia entry.
I got to admit, it's slightly more subtle than, what's the movie with...
Obadiah Stane?
That is not subtle, but the one with Robert De Niro as the devil is going way back to the...
Al Pacino, right?
That one, I think his name is like the Devil, but no, it's Louis.
Devil's Advocate?
Yes. Louis Cypher is his name.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. And then at the end of the movie, he goes, you didn't pick up on the clues, huh? My name is Lou Cypher. It's like, oh.
Wait, is that Devil's Advocate?
No, that's the one with the chicken blood. It's voodoo and everything. I don't know.
I don't even know that one.
It's like from the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, yes, bad name. I don't
Angel
think that
Heart?
Yes.
Wow.
With the Cosby Kid getting naked. That was what it was famous for. That's the catch line for it. Cosby Kid gets naked.
Yeah. It's going to cause some trouble with the Jell-O sponsorship here.
Oh, you just got in so much trouble doing a Cosby imitation after talking about, you're in deep trouble.
I feel like our last podcast was filled with Cosby imitations somehow.
But that's because there was a Rudy in it.
With the skin and the puppies and the Cruella Deville.
And the skin and the puppies and my kids are getting naked. What is happening here? It's better that they're terrible Cosby impressions too. If they were good, it might be worse.
I think yours is pretty good.
No, I don't know.
We'll do some readings of this book as Bill Cosby. That's
okay.
Our fans are undoubtedly writing letters to demand at this point in time.
Yes.
With the eugenics, Rudy.
The Volkswagen made by the Hitler.
Bill Cosby doing a Hitler impression.
I think
everybody wins.
Yes.
I like this line, too, because it is a little bit of universal wisdom in this book. I think they were like they're looking at someone. someone had a dream last night and there was like a bright light or something. She wonders if it means anything. And Pongo says, perhaps it'll come back to you, Pongo said, though he rather hoped it wouldn't. He enjoyed telling his own dreams, but wasn't fond of listening to other people's.
I had to give the line credit for that. That is 100%. That's a pretty good, that's a smile, right? It's not a laugh, but that's a good line.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that this is bad. I think it's deeply weird at this point in time, but I don't think it's poorly written.
Correct, yeah.
But so the whole point of this, they went back to the thing to recruit everybody, but they also wanted to learn what metaphysical means. And so they're trying to find a dictionary, but they don't know which book it is. But then a shaft of sunlight came between the curtains, and they also drew aside a little to let it in and shone full on a dark blue book, which had dictionary in gold letters on its back. So you're getting a true Deus ex Barkina here. It's like the sword and the stone being illuminated.
Yes.
So, like, not sure which entity is doing all this guidance and gate opening, but it's fully out in the open at this point.
There's something that comes up later that makes me wonder, what is the dog? You know, let's talk metaphysics with the dogs. Like, what is their world? You know, and who created their world?
Right. Yeah. Is there an
you
element
religious?
to that, to their marriage ceremonies? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. What do they say when they bind themselves together for life, one assumes?
You mean like nodding?
Well, yeah, sure, yes.
Do you know what that is in the dog/furry community? Yes.
Okay.
But when you can't separate them lest some injury occur. All right. Well, I hadn't even thought about that till right now. All right, moving on. I highlighted this as a sentence just to read as an excerpt from a children's book about dogs. He also knew that the cleverer he got, the less help he got from his instincts. So he was happy that he could rely on what his dear wife often called her feelings. And if she was in favor of metaphysical, he would do his best to be too. It's not quite Dr. Seuss.
Wow. All right.
And I think that's where the chapter ended. I think they looked up what metaphysical meant and said, like, I've taken to metaphysical.
Which reminded me of the, is it Olivia Newton-John?
Yes.
Let's get metaphysical, physical. Absolutely. I remember when that was out, it played on the radio constantly.
Man.
And it was like having someone, spray bleach into your eyes. Like, so shut that up, which you can't do when you're in somebody else's car. But it would happen. I'd have to leave the room. I hate that song so much.
Man, I think I feel like I had that with the "Come On, Ride the Train, Let's Ride It, Woo Woo" song. They, because that was like played on the radio nonstop, and when I was in high school, and like, there's no reason to ever listen to that song outside of like the Harlem Globetrotters taking the court or something. But,
wait, who does that song? Do I know
Quad
that song?
City DJs, who also did the Space Jam theme song. So probably know. Come on, ride the train and ride it, woo woo.
Yeah, I probably wasn't listening to the radio at that. People often say that. They're like, "How do you not know that song?" It's like, how would I know that song? What mechanism do you think?
Yeah, that was when you still would have had to buy a CD to really seek it out. Unless you were like working retail and they gave you a 7-song playlist that would repeat every 45 minutes.
It's on the radio all the time. I don't listen to the radio.
Well, that's the end of chapter 3. They head out into the garden, and chapter 4 is titled "The Great Swoosh," which now I didn't think of anything the first time we read it, but everything we've learned about the mongrels and eugenics dogs, the Great Swoosh sounds like it could be some sort of culling or something.
Oh dear, yeah. There's a phrase that comes to mind. I won't say it. The picture, by the way, drawing. I don't know who did the art for this. Has the dogs. Some of them look mixed breed to me. Ugh. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, the one on the left. Yeah, he looks sort of mongrelly. Yeah. The one on the right, popping his head up on the London 66-mile sign. Ugh.
Yeah, why are they still alive? Anyway, there's prominently a bone in the bottom there, right?
Yeah.
What kind of animal is that bone from?
Part of it looks still like sort of bloody.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, what is the Great Swoosh? Is it the, we're finally going to do this. We're going to start eating those half breeds. let's just do it.
Yeah.
Come on, that's what it's going to lead to.
It does go unaddressed. Like one dog be like, come on, the general. I thought this would be the first action all of us would have taken this morning. You're telling me no one else ate a kid? All right, whatever.
There's no morality in our metaphysical world. Whatever is right, do what is good unto you.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
General. So they're setting off to London. They're all accomplished swooshers. There's 50 Dalmatians going, including, this was a funny sentence, Lucky and his wife, Gay. So I'm just imagining, this is my dog wife, Gay, being introduced in the 60s.
Oh, is Uncle here? Oh, no, this is my wife.
No,
okay, gotcha. I understand.
He's seeing there was a revival of Meet Me in St. Louis, so he went to attend that.
Clang, clang, clang goes the trolley.
So then they head out. It says they go in to see the general again out of the gates. They're swooshing in formation, 13 rows of 4, to go see the general, who has now adopted a Jack Russell Terrier as his lieutenant.
Right. The shrill voice.
Yes, I think that makes sense if you've ever been around a Jack Russell. They're barkers.
Oh, are they? They're the little tough ones, right? Oh, yeah.
Wishbone, yeah.
Yes. Wishbone?
Wishbone was like a PBS show where a dog would interpret classic literature. Like he would be Odysseus or Tom Sawyer or something.
Oh, okay. All right, I did not know that. Our own Bill Corbett, I believe, had Jack Russell Terriers.
Who is his dog? Rudy, a Jack Russell Terrier? I think it might be.
Oh, is Rudy? I didn't know.
See, there we go. Entirely justified.
Totally.
It might be. Maybe his previous dog was. They now are talking like there's like a collective dog hive mind. Where it says that the dogs are moving information and they're picking up on Pongo's thoughts. It says, you think a faster thought and we all go faster. You think a slower thought and we all slow down. Indeed, we only move forward at all because you think a forward thought. So he's really are just like bonding into this one collective, what Pongo thinks we all do. Which
Right. Like if you think about the formation, think about, 1938, the streets of Berlin as these formations came through. Think about that. It was that sort of a formation.
Yes,
right?
And these dogs are, they're not thinking independently. They're just following orders from Pongo,
yes.
Who's the, source of their prime bloodline, I guess you could probably say.
Right, and they wouldn't, of course, they wouldn't question anything that happened. They would simply speed up or slow down or do X or Y or Z on command, of course.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think I've got the picture.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
But roly-poly is, the nail that sticks out and must be pounded down.
Okay, yes.
He's like backing up into people because he thought they were saying back up, and then he runs into something. He accidentally had a backward thought, and Mrs. says, no one but your father is to think any thoughts at all, and you'd better warn all the other dogs, Pongo.
By the way, roly-poly does not appear in Chapter 5. There's no more mention of roly-poly.
There is a delicious new type of Alpo dog food, however, that's been rolling off the lines to fatten you up. It gets Augustus glooped.
Oh, boy. All right, so plot-wise, where are we?
They're heading to London, and I believe they arrive there, or they arrive in like they arrive in another town, Sudbury, where they stop at a statue of Gainsborough, and this is where they I think that it was sort of revealed that your thing about them token up was probably legitimate earlier, because it says the sky seemed farther away than usual and looked more blue velvet than a normal sky does. Mrs. felt she would like to stroke it. Tall trees looked particularly tall, and their heavy foliage looked particularly soft and furry. Cornfields were turning golden at the very
I see it now. Yeah, no, I see it. They're like golden.
The air is golden. It's not just because of the sun. It's like...
No, it's like the air has like it has. Hang on, let me finish. It has a golden haze of like its own.
Yeah. That's not the only haze here. Hit that, man. Okay. So, but it's also is. You hear that? Wait, do you hear that?
What?
Stop!
Wait,
No, stop!
what?
Stop!
Stop.
You hear that?
Yeah. What?
There's nothing. You hear nothing?
Oh, whoa! I just got it, man. You had me. The whole countryside is utterly still.
Whoa! Yeah, so they're either token up or on shrooms, and but they enjoy it. Like they say that they're enjoying this peaceful swoosh. So it's like it's a good vibe. That's not being harshed by anything.
And then she says, though, today, even midday feels a bit peculiar. Does it? Is there anything peculiar going on?
Now that you mention it, yeah. I'll stop swooshing. And
yes. I haven't eaten in 6 weeks. Yeah, it's peculiar.
And I like that they have this sentence. They just start using this term without having referenced it before. Pongo relaxed, and the whole army of hover dogs swooshed peacefully through the still silent morning.
Hover dogs.
Yeah, because I mentioned the hovercraft before, but then they just they sort of self-assign that. And I like this one just as a concept that all the kids would be familiar with. Pongo felt a sudden stirring in his mind, and a moment later he heard CAD Pig barking. Parenthetical. The thought wave had come just ahead of the bark, like light traveling faster than sound.
Wow. Okay, so they do have to bark even though they're thinking to each other.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, who knows? But I think they woof woof, and then the light travels faster, to their mind before they hear it. Interesting.
Yes, and then so CAD Pig, who has by now, like obviously her prison is packed with her enemies.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're pleading for their lives, but she's obviously killed their children in front of them.
Yeah.
As she takes over, is like, "Where is my army?" That's right. That's what she's asking.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we stopped at this fountain. She's like, no, there is no time for that. Come.
Yeah, I'm about to, I've lined the cat's litter box with a Magna Carta. We're writing a new one. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
Yes. Some are more equal than others. But she orders them to come, like, let's go right now.
Yeah, and they're like, well, but how is everybody going to get there? And that's where she just says, they can get to London if they think about getting to London.
Yeah, she's like, just abandon the rest of them. They're like, come quickly. There's going to be traffic jams when you get here, but don't worry about it.
Dog jams.
Yes, and everyone for himself is basically what she says, right?
Well, she says some dogs want to be led.
Whoa.
Yeah,
okay.
Some dogs are just falling into place behind whoever has got the loudest bark or something. But she also says far too many dogs are coming. There's a seething mass of dogs outside of number 10. It's rarely good when masses start to be describing as seething, you know? That's really like, oh, man, it was great. There was just a seething mass of people, and then everything was happy and good.
Yeah, how was the concert? Oh, great, it was seething. Absolutely seething with people.
Yeah.
But, CAD Pig doesn't say it, but of course she's got a solution for that seething, let's just say.
Yes.
Once the army gets there, there won't be so much seething anymore.
Right, yeah. There's going to be a way to quiet this.
Yes.
Make them wish that they were dead. But yeah, the thinking about going to London and then you can go. Pongo wished the traffic lights were working, and suddenly they were. Pongo wished his enemies dead, and suddenly they dropped. That doesn't happen, but like that's where does the power end? Is my main question here, especially as stuff keeps getting grimmer.
Well, Mrs. does raise a paw and raise an objection, but I love that it is completely brushed off.
Okay.
She says, I don't think it's healthy. This is about the thinking. Sometimes the young dogs at Hell Hall make more noise than I care for, but I'm glad enough to hear it now. And I don't think I hold with inner ears or thought waves. How can one be sure one's keeping one's thoughts to oneself? One's entitled to private thoughts.
What?
That's the last we'll hear of that bullshit.
Yeah.
There is only Big Brother. There is no... You must learn to love him.
How private of thoughts we talking about here? What sort of thoughts is the dog having?
Yeah, what kind of misses? Why don't you tell me about them private thoughts that you're having?
A little something for Pongo. But then, yeah, so that her questioning here of like, could we keep some of these to ourselves? Does every dog need to know every night we're thinking? Pongo was about to say something soothing when he saw a look of horror come into his wife's eyes. So she, not only is she having that disturbing thought, then she gets the full Sheriff Brody rack focus onto her.
Yes.
And it's because she sees a small houses with a factory with a signboard that says Cruella Deville and Co. So even worse than Gump and Co. And it says
far worse.
makers of clothes that clank, KLOES, that KLANK. And it doesn't make any sense to Pongo, but it says it did to Mrs. because she was a bad speller. She said at once it means clothes that clank. But all that I don't know what that doesn't really clear things up for me.
It didn't clear anything up. I thought it was like, is this a Model Land reference here? What is it?
Oh, yeah, wow. And that fashion unites both books.
I guess so.
That and stories you wouldn't want to read to your 7-year-old cute daughter.
Yeah.
But
what is the clank?
Yeah, it says all that matters is she's back in England, that wicked woman. And soon after that, we get a mind-blowing revelation. Which just had never crossed my mind. It says, Pongo now confessed that he had known, but she's not our enemy now, Mrs. She won't want Dalmatian skins anymore. Mr. DeVille's no longer a furrier. The Dearly said he and Cruella are making plastic raincoats. So it never entered my mind that Cruella Deville was married and that, she wasn't born with the name Cruella Deville. She was like Cruella Jones, and then married Mr. DeVille to sort of complete that name.
Yeah, you wonder, did she look around for that?
Yeah.
And, Mr. DeVille was like, worked at his local church, just a beloved guy, ran charities and stuff like that. And then like, wow, this woman's hitting on me pretty hard. I kind of want to devote everything to my nonprofits, but she's really pressing for my hand.
Yeah, I've sort of got some businesses up and running, but she's just like obsessed with this idea of me dropping everything and to become a furrier.
So, I mean, she's pretty hot. So those cheekbones.
Why not? Yeah.
So I'm in, but yeah. And then she's like, "Yeah, I did it. I landed him." She was going to marry Louis Cypher until that point.
Either that or he's the classic, yes, dear type of guy. Like he either is matches her evil for evil, or he's the meek little guy who goes along with the plan.
There was once how do I say this without bringing up real people? Let's just call her an executive who I had to often see.
Okay.
And she was Cruella Deville. Like, it was just bizarre. Like, hitting on me in front of my wife and stuff, going like what is happening here? Just very strange thing. And then once I was in a limo going to some sort of event with her, and her husband was with her, and he was like, "Yes, dear."
Perfect.
It was amazing. It's like, I never knew. I mean, I knew you were married, but have you met my husband? Here he is. And he was like, "Hello." And like slipped me a wet piece of meat. Oh my God. I thought it was hilarious. Like, why wouldn't he be like, jingling his change and "Hey, how's it going, man? Yeah, my wife's got some crazy thing going on." It's like, no, he was just full out, "Hello. Good to see you all." It was so weird.
Amazing. Well, I do hope we get to meet him. It would be a damn shame if this was they were brought up here and then never came back.
Yes,
again.
Exactly.
Their plastic raincoat business.
Chekhov's husband. You got to see him.
It has to be a front. So we'll see. But they go on to discuss this. They said, "We must warn CAD Pig. She must have Cruella locked up." So they are already assuming she has a secret police that's capable of doing that.
Sure. Yeah.
But it says, "But Cruella will just be asleep like all humans." You forget, Cruella's not human. We were never sure of that, said Pongo. But it was true. They had once believed Cruella might be some kind of devil. So speaking of your metaphysics and stuff, the dogs have an understanding of good, evil, presumably heaven and hell, and the devils that lurk within. I guess they do live in hell. So.
Yeah. So is she? So she's married. Mm-hmm. But she's a demon who got married and started a furrier, or like convinced married into furrier.
Yes, landed a furrier but then also moved on to plastic raincoats after leaving town for a brief period of time.
So is she? Is he a demon?
Huh.
So was she cast out of heaven? That's what I'm just trying to get she fell for like lightning from heaven or something. Like what is? I don't understand. She's not human.
Yeah, it is pretty funny that dogs, escalate from she wants to make fur coats. There's no level of evil in between that and devil. Like not just like, yeah, she's a real bitch. Like,
yeah, I don't like her. She's a demon. All right, well, we'll find out more, I guess. But that was very tantalizing to me that she's not human.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that brings the story to a whole nother level. Like, okay, so there are human-like creatures who are actual demons. Mm-hmm. So that should be fun to explore who that is.
Yeah, because we have dogs seizing power, but that's going to be a hard thing that's going to be standing in their way. Unless they team up with them, that could be.
Yeah, well, at the end, does like Mr. Dearly wake up and he's like, I'm back. That was a delightful sleep. And then peel the mask off and like, I'm not actually Mr. Dearly.
Head rotates 360 degrees. Well, it does end on a positive note too. They get to London. They're standing outside Downing Street, number 10 Downing Street, and they think with all their strength, CAD Pig, we're here in Whitehall. And it's worked magnificently. Within a couple minutes, a squad of police dogs were forcing their way through to Pongo. So they're just like tossing people aside, beating them down.
Swinging those sticks.
Yeah,
yes. Just
sea
like,
of dog humanity.
Like there's like dog canine teeth skittering across the road as they. Oh. Adagio for strings is playing as the dogs, the path opens up in front of these police dogs.
Where did dogs get pepper spray so quickly? How do they have opposable thumbs to operate it with? But it says in case you think that we're exaggerating, the leader said loudly, all dogs of Madam CAD Pig's own breed are to proceed to Downing Street. All other dogs are to proceed to Horse Guards Parade. And,
oh boy.
It says he felt responsible for all the dogs who had joined him. He says, will they be well looked after on Horse Guards Parade? And he says, yeah, they don't need any looking after. But then half the police dogs cleared away to there, and then the leader said, make way for the Dalmatians. Dogs fell back without resentment. Indeed, they were all wagging their tails, and there were cries of, long live Madam CAD Pig and all her Dalmatian relations. So these are the dogs who knows which way the winds are blowing.
I, for one, welcome our new Dalmatian leaders.
Yeah. Wow. I wish there was just the slightest bit of dissent or something like that. It would be interesting to... No, pugs! Pugs are the future leaders! He was quickly silenced and never heard from again. His body surfaced in the Thames.
Wow, Madam CAD Pig.
Yeah, that's just... they just throw that at you and people are chanting it.
I assume Chapter 5 opens with her like on a terrace above a crowded square of dogs. Mm-hmm. Listen to me, my dogs. Yes, my queen.
Oh, and it ends with them. He says, I hope I'm not looking smug, Pongo. I hadn't realized how important our daughter has become. And so the Dalmatian army entered Downing Street.
So... here's my another prediction of the future. Mrs. and Pongo with their muzzles taped up as she walks into the dark room like, I was hoping it didn't have to come to this.
Re-rubbed you. Yeah, I mean, her uncle who can't breed could be like Varys, the Whisperer. You know, he was the eunuch on Game of Thrones, who's, you know,
little Iago action.
Army of Sparrows. Yeah.
Yes, my queen. I know it pains you, but you must eliminate the two. They raised me.
They're the source of my bloodline, the pure bloodline. Yes, but they must be snuffed out. It is your bloodline now, CAD Pig. Well, you were once the runt. You are now the madam of all England. Yeah.
Close in on her, push in on her face as a single tear rolls down it as she, we assume, just off screen, is slitting the throats of her parent Dalmatians.
It zooms back out and she's, humping a stuffed doll or something. Like, can you hold it together, madam, please? Sorry.
Right.
Instinct.
Stay on task.
Instinct.
Stay on task. Yes.
Oh, well, that's a good way to end it. Why don't we move on to our, do we have, we had one email. Let's read that.
We're going to the party. We're going to the game. We're going to the disco. We're going to cruise out, man. We're stealing people's mail.
All right, we actually had two emails, and these came from our, once again, our beloved Patreon supporters. The first one is from Doug. He said, I got a notification from Amazon about your pal Zachary Schatzer's latest release. Zach writes for Riff Tracks, has written a bunch of very funny books, and he just released one called Molly McKeever in the Case of the Missing Clown.
Yes, I got that same notification. Yes.
And so I did too. I got the same one. And you scroll down and it says, customers also bought items by Meg Muldoon, Andy Weir, Garrett Putnam Service, and Winston Groom. So
Garrett Putnam Service?
I don't think we ever knew that, did we?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Wow.
But,
nice.
So, yeah, the 372 effect, even is tangentially to poor Zach, who's... I'm sure he's glad people are reading them, but it's a distinct through line from the bad book readers to his very funny one. So
Please do not associate me with it.
Let's see if we can get Dodie Smith onto that page sometime soon.
Yeah.
The next email, this is just because we have a little extra time. I normally would not read this because this is esoteric and weird, but this is from Jan or Jan. He says, as a fairly new Patreon supporter, thank you, welcome aboard. I am currently in the process of catching up on all the stuff you put out for us over the years. The vast library. And so this is some of the stuff from 2020, I guess. He says, right now I'm catching up on the quarantine minis. It was a strange time, wasn't it? And I've just listened. We just made 8 Nazi allusions in a book about dogs. It was written for 8-year-olds. I think we're still in a pretty strange time on this podcast. But he says, I just listened to mini episode 17, where Mike talks extensively about Beethoven's Piano Sonata number 29. In it, he also says that apparently Hammer Klavier is supposed to be a joke in German. Do you remember any of this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. He says, I know nothing about classical music, but as a German native, I can safely say, nope, there's no joke in that word. It literally,
no, it's not the word. I'll have to find the article.
Just means hammer piano and was used to
I know it
between
does.
instruments.
I know there's some sort of a. He did something where he left an umlaut off or something.
He said maybe someone got confused by the second movement scherzo. That's Italian for joke, and if you take
scherzo is joke. Yes,
you have the German word for scherz. Which also means joke, or
joke.
Apparently a scherzo is not uncommon in classical music.
I didn't get confused. I'll find the article.
I'm
not saying it was a funny haha joke. I'm saying that Beethoven was doing some sort of some sort of sly thing.
A sniff out through your nose joke.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that everyone even agrees with it. It was just a theory. Anyway.
Okay. And then he says something about the pronunciation of clavier, which correcting pronunciation is a very first 3 books of the podcast type of thing.
Come on. Is he correcting my pronunciation of it?
The word clavier is pronounced more like clavier. In this case, the E after the I just denotes the I is supposed to be pronounced long rather than short. He says, anyways, just a little extra bit for Mike to obsess over. Winky emoji.
Yes. No, I take it in the spirit it was given. I will find the article.
Nice. All right.
At some point.
Well, it's very simple. We'd better lick their faces. Joshua submitted, not bark exactly, but, well, I'm barking to you and you're barking to me, but I'm almost sure we're really reaching each other by thought waves. It's all part of the strangeness this morning. And he said, I struggled to figure out why this was dumb. Then I realized they're thinking in barks and we're supposed to understand both situations. It's all so confusing. Yeah, I think there's a reason this did not get made into a movie. Mike submitted, Mr. Dearly looks as if he might smile at any minute, and he just wondered, what in the world does about to smile look like? It is rather Kleinian. Yeah. Hayden submitted, the enemy you don't know isn't there. And he said, there's just no reading that makes this statement true. I agree. John submitted, I explained, and there was no panic whatsoever. It's, a lot of times when you explain, it doesn't result in panic. So it's good to point out. Janelle submitted, you must imagine yourself swooshing, and then you will swoosh. And said it's just like her saying, when she was a kid and would convince myself I could fly by jumping off my bed, and then I would simply just be flying, which is sort of how the dreams work. It's funny that we talked about flying dreams and then had a big smackdown of telling someone about your dreams later in the book. Right. Chap submitted, I'd like a show of tales. And there's a few things like that. It's, just a little dog, what if dogs were humans type of dog jam was another one instead of traffic jam. Chris submitted, such marvelous breathing. We love our breathing, our marvelous breathing, our beautiful breathers. And mine, what did I have? I had a couple. Okay, yeah. This one's a good one. She had heard what they said, although they had used low tones of bark. Wow.
What is a low tone of bark? That's a sonic challenge, I guess.
Woof, 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 woof. I think that's it. Do you have anything left?
I burnt it already, but it is she and her husband frequently had charming kittens who all went to excellent homes.
Frequently. Marry those kittens off. It's been 2 weeks. Well, I think that's it for this time. We'll post an assignment in the next round, and this book's full of delights, I must say.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, the prose is much better than our previous books.
Oh my God!
So there's that.
One more thing. Speaking of our previous book, someone sent this to me. It was a guy who posted on eBay. Oh no, just in Google. You searched for hat that weird guys wear, and it turned up 3 different results of Andy Weir's flat cap with the
wow.
So we will leave you with that. If you want to read the rest of Starlight Barking with one of those hats on, maybe it will make you able to understand the low tones of bark that you get tossed at you.
And please send a picture.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.